So I was 18 at the time. And again, we went on holidays. My younger sister and I went on holidays. So we had 2 weeks up on the beautiful Gold Coast where I actually live now. What had happened was we were just about to head home. We had like 2 days left and we'd been out. And she decided to go home back to the unit. And I stayed around because we'd met some people. So I'd stayed around, had a few drinks, and just enjoyed life and started heading back to the unit. As I'm heading back to the unit, I got a tap on the shoulder. Now, I just passed a young couple, and I thought that that's who was tapping me on the shoulder. So I've turned around and I was punched in the face and knocked out. So I didn't know anything. Like, I didn't even see anybody, didn't anything. I was just king hit, as they call it in Australia, and obviously hit the concrete pavers. I came to being dragged into the back of a car by my hair and just did not know what was going on. But what was happening was it was a pack rape. So I was being attacked in the back of the car. While this was happening, I tried to fight back like you normally do, just a reaction, a response, because everything hurts. I tried to fight back, and as I tried to fight back, it just resulted in more bruises, more problems. So I had to stop. And I remember thinking to myself, I can't stop them doing what they're doing to me, because I tried that didn't work. I can't stop this, but how can I stop them doing it to anyone else? And as soon as I said that, I left my body and I was outside of the car. Now, when I talk about it, I talk about her or she, because even though that was me, I could see me, it wasn't me, if that makes sense. I remember looking at her, and you could see the blood coming down the side of her lip, but I couldn't taste anything. I could see the energy coming out of the back of her head where she was dragged into the car, but I couldn't feel anything. As this out-of-body experience was happening, there was no emotional attachment for me whatsoever to that body and to the things that was around them. There was no smell of alcohol or cigarettes that I could smell earlier. There was nothing like that happening in there. And I just remember looking in amazement at what was going on. I do remember looking around as if to say, well, is anyone going to help her? Like there's obviously an issue here. Is anyone going to help her? And I looked around, and as you've looked around, it's like you're in a full moon evening. So it was dark, but it had that blue light on it, blue hue around. And I'm watching what they're doing to her, and I'm watching her body go through this, but there was just nothing. There was no attachment to it. There was no, oh my goodness, I feel sorry for her. Oh my goodness, this is happening. There was nothing of that. It was just like, this is fact. This is what's happening. But as I was there, I got and I can't say it's a booming voice or anything else, but I got the information that I needed, that was asked of what I asked for. I asked, how can I stop these people doing this to anyone else? The information came to me. And within an instant, I'm back in my body again. And if you can imagine not feeling anything to feeling everything in one big foul swoop, the smell of cigarettes, the horrible feelings that you're getting, the pain in the jaw, the back of the hair where it was bleeding, and where you got dragged into the car, the other body areas that were being attacked in that sort of a way, everything comes back in one big foul swoop. And it was then that I went, okay, this is what I had to do. Didn't really think about it, just started doing it. So I started to pray to them. And again, I'm not religious, so this didn't really make sense to me. I just did it. And so I started to pray to them out loud. Forgive them, Lord, for they know not what they do. And I just kept on repeating it louder and louder. They didn't like it. They tried to stop me. The hand around the throat, the hand around the mouth to try and stop me from speaking. But I kept on going. I kept on saying, forgive them, Lord, louder and louder. Forgive them, forgive them. And it just got louder and louder until eventually I couldn't speak, because the throat and the hand around the throat and the hand around the mouth, I became unconscious. I came to in the gutter on the side of the road and had to make my way back to the unit where I was staying, which I was on holiday, so I didn't quite know where I was going and had to sort of stagger around for quite some time before I got back to where I needed to be. That was my first experience. So I've had that experience there. Almost 12 months to the day, I had my, what I call my near-death experience. Now I'm going to tell you the difference, and it's really quite strange because of what you were saying about the car accidents and things like that. My near-death experience, nothing at all happened to me. Basically, I passed out. So no accident, no horrific scene, nothing. I was at work. I worked in a bank. I was at work. I started to feel ill, and I sort of went, I don't feel very well. And eventually I passed out. It's what happened when I passed out that made that feel like a near-death experience, because I didn't stay with my body. In the out-of-body experience, I stayed with my body. And I was there with my body. I could see my body all the time. With the near-death experience, I must have passed out, obviously, because I don't remember that bit. And they must have laid me on this low bed that I didn't know we had. It's one of like a fold-out banana lounge, we call them in Australia, and they're plastic and you fold them out. We must have had one in the staff room, which I didn't know of. So they've obviously laid me on that. Now, I remember the part I remember was I'm looking up and everybody's looking down at me. And you would have heard them from somebody say in the hospital or something, where you have people looking over you. I remember standing up and saying, why are you all looking down? I'm up here. And then I kept on going. So I actually left my body, and it was the experience I had now that made me realize that that felt like a near-death experience, because I was heading not back there. I wasn't stuck back there. I was heading to a completely different place. I was on a path. I knew I couldn't see the path, but I knew I was on the right path. I was watching there's like fog becomes sparkles, like little glitter all over the place. And in this glitter, there was these darker areas. And this was before mobile phones or anything else. I can explain to them now, look, they look like mobile phones. Okay, they're like little tiny screens that I could see all over the place. And these little tiny screens, when I looked close at them, had my memories in them. The music was there, the music that was, just so soft and so calming. You felt I had emotions. I felt so good. It felt absolutely beautiful, stunning colors. Everything was just out of this world. And that's why it felt so different. It felt so different. I was in a whole new universe, whole new place. I didn't know where I was, didn't care. It was good. I'm staying there. So I'm walking along and I'm looking at these little memories as I go along. And it was really nice. Obviously, I was on a mission. I was walking, didn't know where I was going because I couldn't see anything, but I was on a mission. Then the shadows came up and it was like a wall in front of me, like a long way in front of me. And there was an opening in there. Not the pearly gates or anything else. It was just an opening for me. And I'm heading towards that opening. As I'm getting closer, I could see figures behind the wall, whatever that was. There was little shadows, little figures sticking their heads out, watching and saying, you're not supposed to be here. You're not supposed to be here. So I was just so excited to be there. There was no way known. I'm not turning around. I'm heading. I'm going there. These little beings and everything else, they were home. That was where I was going to. And this is when I did hear the booming voice. Now, the booming voice you don't hear. This is going to be, if you can imagine you're at a rock concert and everyone takes the sound away, but you can hear the vibration still. You can feel the beat. That is what I found. That's what I heard or felt as the booming voice. So it wasn't the sound of it. It was that vibration, like that beat of it. And that was like, oh, you're not supposed to be here. It was like, you've got to go back. Like the whole thing was like, oh, I'm not supposed to be here. I've got to go back. And that's when I came to back at work in the bank. And then I realized I was laying on this thing. But apparently the doctor had come around and given me an adrenaline shot to bring me back. So again, I'm not aware of any of that. I wasn't there for that in that context. And I just came to, and I'd lost my bladder, and it was really embarrassing and so horrible. So I just sort of went, I want to go home. And they let me drive home without, after all this experience. But for them, it was just, I just passed out. It's allowed me to look at it very differently. I was really, again, I'm quite analytical, so things have to make sense for me. And when I look at the outer body experience, it wasn't the attack or anything else. I mean, I talk about it, but it does. I don't have that feeling, that connection, and I feel it's because I got the answer that I needed, and I instigated it. I put it into action. One of the things I teach with the intuition is the first thing to do is ask. And that's what I did during the attack without realizing. I asked for help. The second part is that when you ask, you are open to receiving, and you can receive that information. And that's what I did. The last part is actioning. And thank goodness I actioned it, because I feel that's what's helped me get through it. I have had times when I've asked, I have got the answer that I wanted, and I've not actioned it, and have, yeah, realized, like, oh damn, I should have done that. But that was sort of my biggest understanding in it, that these lessons, these things come to us if we can find a silver lining for them, if we can find something positive. And as I said, I never ever talked about this because I had to find that silver lining before I could talk about it. I can talk about it now because I know that there's people out there that may have experienced something like that. Find the silver lining, find the learning from it, and that's what's going to help you grow, develop, and become who you need to be.